Hey everybody, what's going on? It's James here with Crypto Common Sense, and I have a Bitcoin / cryptocurrency update video just after midnight Central Time. So technically this is going to be for April the 10th. Before I do, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you check the description for a link to join my Patron. If you're watching it somewhere else, of course, you can go over to YouTube and check for that description. It is literally less than the cost of a fancy cup of coffee. All right, so let's talk about Bitcoin. All right, so Bitcoin pumped, right? It's been pumping for 4 weeks, and it got up to, I don't know, 73, 7,400 bucks, something like that, and is doing exactly what I said I expected it to do a few days ago, right? I said I did not expect this to put in 4 weekly green candles. It had not done that a single time since the earlier part of 2019. I didn't expect it to start now. When it broke above this yellow line, which we'll talk about in just a second, I said that I could see it throwing a wick up, right, to trap bulls and to crush some late bears, or early bears, excuse me. And then I could see it pulling back down, back underneath this trend line. Well, so far that's what it's doing. And just like I said, I don't like other people being arrogant and talking uncertainties. I don't want to do the same thing. So I'm not saying that this is for sure what's going to happen, or that, you know, this just because it's pulling back right now, we don't know if this is the beginning of a dump. It could just be a pullback before this thing continues higher, okay? So you don't want to go out there all half-cocked and make a trade decision based on just this one thing that's happening in the market. But if we start looking at some of the smaller time frames, this is going to make sense, right? I don't want to go too zoomed in because I don't want to do a 40-minute video. But if you look at the 3-day chart, every single one of you who have been following me for any length of time know that I've been trading this 3-day chart since the what I wouldn't say early 2019, like mid 2019, right, is when this chart really started to make sense to me, sometime around July. And what we did was we came up, we found resistance on this blue line of support / resistance, right? We talked about that last week. Day that we closed above that, I said that it's very likely that we could go up, or I don't know that I said likely, probably said it's very possible that we could go up and test this downward sloping yellow trend line. Well, that is exactly what we did. This red candle right here actually opened on the 9th, so it's like about a day old, right? And we just tested that trend line from underneath, which is not bullish. It is freaking bearish, right? It got rejected there. Now, could we break through it? Of course we could still break through it. Of course, this current candle could turn around, turn into a green candle, and this end up being a tail, right? But right now, that is a rejection. And so for people to be on any social media and trying to convince people now is the time to buy Bitcoin, maybe it is, but I don't agree with that. So I want to give you the counter argument to that, and that is, look, we just ran into a trend line. So that's the 3-day chart. And again, if you go back to the weekly chart, you guys know that you've been watching the channel, right? 6 months ago probably, when Bitcoin was like 9 or 10 grand, right? I said that I could see it going down to the 200-week moving average, sliding a tail down and filling in this liquidity gap back here, right? It's exactly what happened. We went down to the 200-week moving average, threw a tail down and filled in that gap, predicted it 6 months before it ever happened, right? After you get a big move down like that, completely par for the course to get a big move up. That's your, quote unquote dead cat bounce more often than not. Is it a dead cat bounce? Maybe, maybe not. But more often than not, that's what you get. You get a big move down and then you get a corrective move up, right? And if you get a big move up, like during this, you often get a corrective move down, right? It's just the way markets work. So a couple things to watch for on this. This yellow line, I think it's critically important, right? I want to see a close as a bear. I want to see a close underneath this yellow line. I'd also really like to see a weekly close underneath this red line, which is $6,908 on Coinbase. Okay, that's kind of like the horizontal line of support / resistance I'm watching on price. And I'm really watching, you guys know this, I love RSI, right? I'm really watching this right here. Are we going to close underneath that line? If so, this is going to look a whole lot like a bearish retest with further downside likely to ensue. Okay? As far as above us, one thing that I'm still watching is this 19-week moving average. Now, again, a lot of other people will talk about the 21-week moving average, but you guys know I like the 19. I first heard about it from a friend of mine named David Eisner, and he had done a lot of research on this. He had read some books on trading, well, several books on trading, I'm sure, but he had read one specific book on trading about this magic line that all markets have. You just have to find it. And through his research and due diligence, he figured out that the 19-week seemed to be the line for Bitcoin. And if you go back, you can back test this and see how perfect this line actually was. It's better than the 21-week moving average. It is currently sitting at $7,846. So that's a hard line of resistance for me. But if we move up and we close above this red line, right, which we're above right now, and we close above this yellow line, it would be hard for me to be bearish, right? I might expect it to move up to the 19-week moving average and then have a pullback with more upside, possibly. But really, to feel comfortable as a bear, I want to see it close underneath that yellow line down here. Okay. Keep in mind, like I've been talking about for the last week or two, you do have to remember that the golden pocket, I get the hiccup, sorry. The golden pocket is sitting right up here, right around $8,000. Very close to that 19-week moving average. It's also very close to the 200-day moving average, which is currently sitting at $8,072, right? And again, this is a daily chart here. We've got our death cross back here, which is a true death cross. Both moving averages were moving down. We've got our rising wedge, right, on the technical analysis pattern. We have dropping volume, so all those things, are bearish in nature. And we do have a break. It's not closed yet, so I don't want to get too excited. But we do have a potential break of the bottom of that rising wedge, right? Now, this rising wedge, of course, doesn't mean that it's going to go down to $3,000 or $2,000, right? The rising wedge is just going to put it back close to the start of the wedge if it, fulfills its price target, if it breaks and moves south, okay? But it is bearish in nature, so I don't really, I have no plans whatsoever to long Bitcoin anywhere near these levels, okay? Even if it keeps going up. So the other thing that is coming up, and I don't want to get too long-winded in this video, but the other thing that's coming up is the halving is next month in May, right? So you do have to keep that in the back of your mind, because typically what will happen with Bitcoin is it will get a buy the rumor, sell the news type of reaction, where everybody buys it and buys it and buys it, right? Price pumps going into the halving, and then it actually dumps after the halving. That's the part that nobody ever talks about. After the halving, it typically dumps. The same thing happened, last year with Litecoin. There were all these articles coming out saying, to buy Litecoin, and it was right at the halving, and I was like, I was selling my Litecoin. I don't know. Maybe this thing does go a little bit higher because of the halving, maybe not. But I still believe in my bones, okay, that this thing is a dead cat bounce that we're seeing. If you look at the trend lines on the daily down here, we've got the really long trend line going all the way back to 2018. This yellow line down here, it's not currently in play. It's too far away. I don't care about it. We've got this trend line here, which had its first touch here. Well, it started here, first touch, found support here, found support here. We could be moving back down toward that to retest that. And then we have this upper trend line where we had our beginning, our first touch, our bearish retest, which again was rejected, right? Bam, bam, boom, we're downside. And now we've come up to test it again, but we're putting in, or trying to put in, an M, which is a double top, right? It's not confirmed yet because this is a new candle. It's not closed. This needs to close, RSI needs to close under 55.25. If it does, we're going to have a textbook M, which is a reversal signal, okay? And it just so happens that that double top is trying to form at resistance, which is, about as bearish as you can get, okay? The one thing about it is so far the volume is not very high. The sell volume is not picking up. It is still pretty low, so we got to be a little careful. It could be a false flag, not like a bear flag, but it could be like a false signal, right? So we don't want to get trapped as bears. We want to make sure that if we are entering trades, we're using proper stop losses and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so far this looks like it, got rejected by the 50-day moving average, and it looks like it's moving back down. So 3-day chart looks like a pretty clean rejection, and weekly chart it looks like it's trying to slip back underneath this price support and also underneath this RSI level down here. So if these things start to give way, if they start to break and price starts to move north of them, then that changes everything. But for right now, people are getting excited, and it's really, I shouldn't say people, because not that many people are. In fact, that's one of the things that does concern me a little bit is most of the people I see on social media are bearish, including a lot of the people who I would have classified as perma-bulls up until recently. Even they are mostly bearish. So that does give me a little bit of pause. It does make me a little bit concerned that it's unlikely or unusual for the markets to do what everyone thinks is happening. But there are those few outliers who are super bullish. So that's what I'm seeing, guys. I'm still bearish. I'm still, looking for this thing to go lower. And I'm still watching the stock market for clues. I still don't know what's going to happen with the stock market. Some people are saying that the panic over COVID-19 is starting to subside some, and so that the stock market is going to be good, and that this was a dip basically. Other people are saying that the worst is yet to come, and of course if that's true, that's going to reflect in the markets. And other people are saying that it's already priced in. I mean, we really don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty right now. So for me, I'm going to stay in the same mode that I've been in, which is mainly scalp trading right now and preserving my capital, right? I had a short open last night. My Discord group knew about it, and I ended up taking profit on half of it, and then I got stopped out overnight for break even on the rest. So I did not catch any of this move. You can't win them all, right? Like I said, my intention right now is to preserve as much capital as I can, so that when I feel confident that the stock market and cryptocurrency have bottomed out, that I can go in there and scoop up some good deals. And if I do miss the bottom and this does end up being a true rally, that's cool, right? I'll catch the trend, right? I'd rather be a little late to the trend and not catch the beginning of it and be safe than try to catch a trend that hasn't yet formed and be wrong, right? Because to me, this still looks a whole lot like this. That's what it looks like, okay? Keep in mind, we want to be fair. We don't want to be too biased one way or the other. So keep in mind that if I take everything off this chart, if I take volume off the chart, and I take the moving averages off the chart, technically speaking, let's put it on a line chart, you'll be able to see it. This is a daily uptrend, right? Or at least I feel like it's a daily uptrend. You get your high, you get your low, higher low, higher high. This is a higher low. It's close, but it's a higher low. This is a higher high. And depending on where this goes, this could very well end up being another higher low, which is an uptrend, right? Any way you cut it, that is a daily uptrend, in my opinion. So you do have to be mindful of that. We don't want to be so, we don't want to be arrogant. Like if you're a bear, you don't want to be arrogant. Like, oh, this is for sure going down. Maybe, maybe not. I think so, but only time will tell. Okay, there you guys have it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please remember that while I do trade full-time for a living, I'm still just some guy sitting in a spare bedroom. So nothing in the video is financial advice. Nothing in the video is trade advice. You should always do your own due diligence and seek out professional investment advice before making any type of investment in cryptocurrency or any other asset. If you haven't already, be sure and give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to check the description if you're watching on YouTube for a link where you can join my Patron for just $4.95 a month. This is James with Crypto Common Sense, reminding you to please trade safe.